With you, Recap Roman. The story is called How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days from 2003. Subscribe to the channel and give it a like. It will help promote the video. Thanks. Andi Andersov writes a column in a women's magazine where she gives useful advice to women. At the same time, she checks all the tips on her own experience. Andi dreams of a career as a serious journalist, loves basketball and her friends Michelle and Janine. But Michelle didn't come to work, and Andi realizes that her boyfriend has dumped her again. She went to her friend to bring her to her senses. Meanwhile, Benjamin Barry was going to work on his bike, not knowing that there are a couple of unpleasant surprises waiting for him. Ben works at an advertising agency and promotes sporting goods and beer, but he wants to go higher, to become a more versatile advertiser. Benjamin learns that the DeLauer couple selling jewelry are looking for a new advertising agency and decides to get them as clients. But his boss, Philip Warren, wants to give the order to his friends Judy Spears and Judy Green because women should know better in such matters. And while Ben is figuring out how to get round his female colleagues, Andi drags a tearful Michelle out of bed and takes her to work. On the way, her friend confesses that her boyfriend dumped her for a reason, because she was capricious, overly romantic, and very annoying. At the meeting, Andi tries to push through her political article, but the editor-in-chief, Lana Jong, tells her to hold off on such publications. Lana promises that when Andi becomes a popular journalist, then she can write about whatever she wants. But in the meantime, she needs new material, and Michelle gives Lana a topic for an article. She needs a story about Michelle's relationship with her boyfriend. But Andi offers to write bad advice for girls on how to get rid of a boyfriend. Lana likes the idea and gives Andi 10 days to find a man and make him dump her. Spears and Green show up at the magazine's editorial office, and Lana tells them about Andi's new article, and Andi likes the idea of seducing a guy and getting rid of him. In the evening, they go to the club for a meeting with Warren. Ben shows up uninvited. He claims to be a great judge of women, so he can easily sell them diamonds. Spears and Green ask him to prove that Ben understands women, and he agrees to fall in love with anyone they point out to him in 10 days, for which he wants a contract with the DeLauers. Warren agrees to the wager, but Judy Spears decides to cheat. She sees Andi in the club with her friends, who has come to pick up her future victim, and offers Benjamin to seduce her. Ben agrees, not realizing that Andi is only here for the article. He hits on her and takes her to a restaurant. After dinner, they go to Benji's house where a spark pops between them. At least they both think it's a real spark. However, Andi leaves, leaving her purse with Ben. He brings the love trophy to work. The purse is seen by Ben's friends and colleagues, Taylor and Tony. They are curious about what's inside, so Tony drops the purse and they take to examining the contents. After finding tickets to an important basketball game, Benjamin sends Andi flowers and then calls to ask her to go to the game. Andi immediately understands why he called her, and after a bit of a breakdown invites Ben to the basketball game. It's a great chance for her to start getting rid of her new boyfriend. In the middle of the game, with just over a minute left until the final whistle, Andi asks her to bring her a Coke. Ben, like a true gentleman, goes to get a drink and misses the decisive shot. The next day, Andi calls him during a meeting and suggests they watch a film. They are at the cinema where Andi starts dripping on Ben's brains. She interferes with the film with a huge big guy sitting behind her, and he insults Andi. Benjamin steps in for her and gets punched in the face. Andi rushes to comfort her boyfriend, and Ben takes the chance to rub her breasts. The next date is decided to be held at Benji's house. He prepared for Andi's arrival with a bang. He cooked meat for dinner, lit candles, and put on some nice music. Andi was prepared too. She had brought all sorts of pretty feminine things and a love fern. But that wasn't enough, and she pretended she couldn't stand meat. Ben had to take her to a vegan restaurant, where Andi threw a tantrum, causing him to miss the game I wanted to watch on TV again. But Andi watched it when she ran into the kitchen pretending she had to go to the loo. and Benji had to watch the game on tape. Andy let it slip that she knew the result, and so Ben wouldn't notice she pretended to want to sleep with him. When Benji's mate was staked, she decided to call his mate Princess Sophia, and Benji gave her a lecture on how to name a manhood. She decided to name him Cruel, the Warrior King, but the dinner exchange still didn't happen. Despite the failed date, Ben decided to continue the relationship. Andy used heavy artillery. She brought a Chinese-crested dog named Cruel to Ben's office, and the dog made a puddle on the pool table, while Andy gave Benjamin an idea for a diamond advertisement, which he shared with Warren. The boss liked the new slogan, and in the evening, Andy came to Ben's house with a photo album of their future children. There were no neural nets and other software back then, so she took the photo on her work computer. Benji had been to Interstellar, the black hole, the fifth dimension, and even there he hadn't seen horrors like the ones in this photo album. The potential babies looked like they were the love child of very close relatives, but Andy was fascinated by them. So Ben pretended to like them too. He wanted to send his girlfriend away, but Andy mentioned the tickets she had and Benji thought it was about basketball. He agreed to go with her, but it turned out the tickets were for a Celine Dion concert. Even that didn't get Benjamin off her back, and Andy tried to think of something else to do to scare her boyfriend. Her friends advised her to ruin the poker party that was scheduled for tonight, and Andy did her best. She brought along some wildly unpalatable sandwiches and Krull, better known as the pissing dog. She did her best to piss Ben off, and at one point he told a friend that Andy was out of her mind. She saw this and gave her boyfriend a scandal followed by a breakup. When she left, she felt disappointed because she really liked Benjamin. Friends convinced Ben to see a therapist with Andy. He caught up with her and suggested the idea. Andy agreed, but she would only go to a therapist she knew. Michelle acted as the analyst. The friends drove Benji white, and in the middle of an argument he suggested Andy go to his parents. Michelle thought it would be good for their relationship. Andy had to go. Ben's parents turned out to be worldly. They took Andy in like family and even played a family card game called Bullshit with her. Then Andy and Ben went for a walk where they got doused in a puddle. When they got home, they went into the shower and did the back and forth thing. It felt so good. Andy felt like a fraud. After all, it had started with the stupid article, but now she was actually in love with Ben, and he had feelings for her too. After returning home, Benjamin invites Andy to a reception hosted by his boss. Warren will decide if Ben has managed to make Andy fall in love with him. Afterwards, Andy went to the editor to retract the article. She couldn't write about her lover, but Lana said that, as a professional, Andy had to meet the deadline despite her personal feelings. Warren hosted a reception for the DeLauers, and they prepared diamond jewelry for the guests. When Andy arrives at the party, she is presented with a very expensive necklace. Then Warren approaches her to ask if she is in love with Benjamin. Andy couldn't answer the question directly, but Warren realized that she had feelings for Ben. After finding this out, the boss told Benjamin. He also told him that the contract with the DeLauers was going to him. Realizing that they had lost Spears and Green decided to mess up the lives of everyone involved in the bet. They told Tony and Thayer that Andy had just played along with Ben, and when the deception was exposed, they would lose the lucrative deal. The friends ran to Andy and asked her to pretend she didn't know anything about the bet. She didn't know, but Tony Thayer hadn't blurted it out on purpose. Meanwhile, Benjamin talked to Lena, and she told him that Andy was writing an article about how to get rid of a guy in 10 days, but then she realized that Ben was the guy the journalist had been harassing and kept quiet. When Andy found out about the bet, she got upset and drank too much. She wanted revenge, so she announced to the crowd that Benjamin had prepared a special number for them. Ben came on stage and didn't let Andy just leave. They decided to perform a duet song during which they started accusing each other of cheating. Eventually, Andy ran off with the necklace, and Ben ran after her. On the street, they expressed all the accumulated grudges to each other, and only the security guard who came to take away the jewelry could stop their quarrel. After that, Andy wrote a touching article about the incident, and Lana liked it and agreed to give her journalist full creative freedom. At first, Andy was happy because she had always wanted to write about really important things, but then the joy was gone because Lana said that she could only write about fashion shoes and other things that the readers of the magazine were interested in. Realizing that she has become a hostage to her column, Andy quits and plans to move to Washington, D.C., where she has been offered a job. She visits Michelle to share the news, but their hen party is interrupted by Michelle's ex-boyfriend, who wants her back, and the two of them leave to rebuild their relationship. Meanwhile, Benjamin receives a magazine from Tony with an article by Andy. He reads it and realizes that she really did love him. Ben goes to Andy's house to tell her how he feels, but she's not at work. He rushes to her house and sees Andy leaving in a taxi. The only way to catch up with the car is on the bridge. Here, Ben and Andy openly talk about their feelings and realize that they can't live without each other. Andy decides to stay with Benjamin because she can work from New York. That's all for now. Subscribe and like if you want more new videos.